at it again, and this is laughable. What we are about to dive into is just absolutely hilarious. But like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you are new. And let's dive in.
Welcome back to TYT. As I mentioned, there's a big announcement that will basically take up the entirety of the second hour of the show today. Here to make that announcement in the capacity as a guest is Cenk Uygur.
Yes.
Cenk, you do have this big announcement, although you've already kind of made it on the set of Breaking Points, but now it's official.
Yeah. No, I had not yet made up my mind, but I have now, and I have filed. I will be running for president of the United States of America. Coming cenkforamerica.com, and the idea here, guys, is let's change the course. Right now, Joe Biden is down 24 points in the economy, 19 points on jobs when he actually did better on jobs than Trump did. He's down 13 points from where he was in 2020. He is not going to win. I am running. Yes, I am a break glass in case of emergency candidate. It should not have been me, it should have been someone else, but unfortunately it was not anyone else. And now there's only 4 months left. We must change course. He has at best a 10% chance of winning. Donald Trump is an actual fascist. So I am running as a proxy. I'm running to win, but I'm also running as a proxy for any other candidate. We have got to get Biden out of the race. Thank you for winning in 2020. But if he loses this time around, it's not just his problem, it's all of our problems. I actually think democracy is on the line. And so if it takes me running, then that's what I'm gonna do. And we're all gonna do it together. And by the way, and I'll say this up front and then I'll let you ask all your questions, Anna. If I do this alone and it's just my idea, it's never gonna work, okay? I'm either your voice or I'm not. If you guys want to have a stronger candidate in this race and you wanna beat Donald Trump, you're gonna make that happen. cenkforamerica.com or in any way, volunteering, whatever you want, okay? But if I'm not your voice, I have no chance at all. So let's see if we can bring something good into the world and make a giant difference together. And you know me, I always believe that we can make a difference together. And this is the time to do it before the primaries are over.
So I do have a lot of questions.
Before we get into her questions, that's funny, ain't it? That is hilarious. So let's talk about him calling Trump a fascist or dictator, whatever. I would love to know how Trump is that. Please explain that one to me. Please explain that one. I'm just curious to know, where was Trump trying to stampede over people's rights or, subvert the Constitution like this administration did? Where? Y'all, I would love to know. If I missed something, let me know. Y'all let me know in the comment section, but I don't see it. I really don't see it. Now, I'm not saying Trump was perfect because we all know he wasn't. But when you are a businessman coming into politics, nothing's going to be perfect, especially when you rock the boat the way that he did. I'm sure he didn't have the best advisors around him, advising him on, this or that, or, because he hasn't been in politics his entire life, so he doesn't know the ins and outs of it all. So somebody could have easily been like, yeah, you can't do that technically, when really, technically he could. But they knew he didn't know that, So, yes, he's not perfect, but would any of us have been perfect? Right? I'm just saying. And then also, he calls Trump a terrible candidate. If Trump is terrible, what's Biden? Because to me, it sounds like he just plans on just continuing basically what Biden is doing. And we see where that's gotten us. Economy is trash. I know these rich elites try to make it seem and sound like it isn't, but we pay bills. We go to the grocery store. We put gas in the car. We know the cost of all this stuff. We look at the checks, so you're not fooling anybody with this. So I don't see this making any type of difference whatsoever at all in any way, shape, or form. But let's continue on because she actually asked him a good question.
I want you to explain is the logic behind what you're doing, right? Because it seems as though you think running is going to spark something in other potential candidates. So explain what the logic is.
Great question. So first of all, when it comes to the issue of me being a naturalized citizen, which I know we're going to get to later, if it wasn't for that, there would be no obstacles to begin with. There should be a progressive in this race. There should have been one for a long time. Marianne Williamson has been in there, but unfortunately she hasn't broken through. I have nothing but respect for her courage and her policies, etc. But at this point, we're not at progressives versus establishment. We're at 4 months left. And things must change, otherwise we're almost definitely going to lose to Trump.
What do you mean when you say 4 months left? I know what you mean, but explain it to the audience.
So Iowa, South Carolina primaries, caucuses, etc., starting in about 4 months. So in fact, the Nevada ballot deadline is on October 16th. So it's in a couple of days. That forces us to go now, right? And so first of all, if Joe Biden drops out, everything is possible. Everything is possible. All the other candidates will come in. Governor Whitmer, Governor Shapiro, you name it. They will all come in and we'll have a real primary, which we should have had from day one. By the way, when we don't do primaries, Republicans get their message out in their primaries is constantly talking about Republican X or Republican Y. Democrats have gotten none of their message out. We need a real strong primary. So my job is to be basically Paul Revere. Biden's gonna lose, Biden's gonna lose, Biden's gonna lose. We gotta go now. We have to change that dynamic. So I'm gonna, yes, pressure Biden to get out of the race. So if he leaves now, he's a hero. He did something incredibly magnanimous. He beat Trump last time. He was a good steward of the economy. So he retires a hero. But if he stays in, I'm gonna explain to people that he's the villain. And if he loses to Trump, if I'm wrong and he beats Trump, then great. Then my apologies to Joe Biden. But that's not gonna happen and we all know that's not gonna happen. So the idea is to create enough pressure on Biden. And here's how.
He knows it's not gonna happen. There you go, you heard it there. Trump's going to win.
You get the pressure. One of the ways you get the pressure is everybody thinks that I have almost no chance of winning, right? Well, let's keep it real. Everybody knows that, right? They're like, oh, your name is funny. You weren't born here. You're a progressive. You're an outsider, et cetera, right? If I get to 20 or 25, panic sets in. There's no question panic sets in because there's two things that happen there. One, the other candidates go, well, Biden is enormously weak, right? Number two is Biden begins to realize the handwriting's on the wall. If this Cenk Uygur, who he probably can't pronounce, has gotten to 25. The handwriting's on the wall. He's gotta go. And by the way, Anna, the reason why this is realistic is because there are a lot of people in Washington, inside the establishment, that are trying to get Joe Biden to drop out. We need to help them. We need to create that pressure.
Okay, let me jump in. You have publicly Bill Maher, James Carville, behind the scenes, other members of the Democratic Party urging Biden to drop out, saying that this is a massive risk that will likely get Donald Trump reelected again. Why do you think that you would be an effective voice in dissuading Biden from running again?
Yeah, there's two things about that, Anna. So number one, why aren't they in the race? So look, you could say, well, what do you mean? Why should Bill Maher go in the race? Of course, James Carville's not gonna go in the race. Yeah, but guys, just talking about it isn't getting anything done. So you need to actually have someone in the race that is actively pushing him out and saying, so like these polite beseeching of Joe Biden isn't working. And yes, we've got to crank up the dial. And so one of the ways you do that is you have a real candidate who actually makes a real run at him. And when you make a real run at him, that's gonna create an enormous amount of pressure rather than just chitter chatter sitting there as time runs out in Washington, D.C. Now, you're getting to an important point here. And
no, you just get radio silence. That's what you get. Just like they did with RFK. You get radio silence. Nobody talks about you. Nobody airs you. Nobody really brings you on. You go 0 dark 30, right? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So Try if he wants. But there's still one big thing that I think is going to cause a problem.
I know some people are nervous. Well, I mean, if Joe Biden only has a 10% chance of winning, and Cenk, you criticize him, does that come down to 9% or 8%? What difference does it make? He's going to lose. 10% isn't enough to win. He's massively behind. He's massively behind, okay? So instead, what the point of turning up the pressure is if you lose to Trump, it is going to be on the record. We warned you. I warned you. I came in the race in a crazy attempt to make a difference because we're on a collision course with fascism. And if Joe Biden says, yes, I am that selfish. Yes, I don't care about you guys. I don't care if democracy's on the line. I don't care if I'm 80. I don't care if I'm 180. My legacy and my ego is more important than anything else in the world. So I will stay here and try to get a 2-term president because 2 terms is better than 1 term. And guys, and if you're in the press or you're out there as a voter, you all know that's what he's thinking. You all know that, right? You know that it's all about his ego and it is intensely selfish. And I'm gonna say that 2,000 times on every show until he gets it through his thick head. Stop being selfish. Democracy is actually on the line. CenkForAmerica.com.
So Cenk, the big issue, the big obstacle kind of standing in your way is the fact that you were born in Turkey, you immigrated to the United States at 8 years old, you are a naturalized citizen, but my understanding is that only US born citizens can run for president. You disagree with that, why?
Yeah, the case law is completely on my side. So this conventional wisdom, we've all heard it. We heard it in 8th grade civics class and it's stuck in our heads. It was an easy thing to remember, right? Oh, if you're not born here. And by the way, there's 25 million Americans who are naturalized citizens. And every one of us has heard about 200 times in our lives, you can't run for president. Now, look, guys, the people who say that, they just remember it from school. They don't mean any harm by it, right? But for those of us who hear it, what we're hearing is you're not really fully American. We don't trust you. You're from a different country. And so the reason that the founding fathers put that in the first place was because at the time they were worried about royal princes that come into the bloodline and find a way to snake control away to a foreign government. That stuff's not at all relevant anymore. And it's obviously not fair. It's super not fair. There's Ted Lieu, who's in Congress now and who's a colonel in the Air Force. What is he not? He's loyal to Taiwan because he came when he was 3. It's absurd. But none of that matters. The only thing that matters is the case law. And the Supreme Court has already ruled in Schneider v. Rusk. I asked you guys if you would do graphics. Do you have those graphics or no?
We do, yeah, let's put them.
So, yeah, and I wanted to show you guys this so you can see it with your own eyes. And thank you for humoring me on that. And so this is from a law review article in University of Illinois. And it shows you definitively that Schneider v. Rusk has already decided this issue. So they had an issue that came up where naturalized citizens were being treated different than natural born citizens. So here's what the court wrote. This is the Supreme Court in that case. The statute proceeds on the impermissible assumption that naturalized citizens as a class are less reliable and bear less allegiance to this country than do the native born. This is an assumption that is impossible for us to make. Moreover, while the 5th Amendment contains no equal protection clause, it does forbid discrimination that is so unjustifiable as to be violative of due process. A native born citizen is free to reside abroad indefinitely without suffering loss of citizenship. The discrimination aimed at naturalized citizens drastically limits their rights to live and work abroad in a way that other citizens may. It creates indeed a second-class citizenship. So the Supreme Court ruled it is unconstitutional to discriminate against naturalized citizens. This issue is actually already settled, just no one knows it. So I'm gonna try to get this albatross off of all of our necks. If you're one of those 25 million Americans, that alone is a reason to go to CenkForAmerica.com and support what I'm doing, because I'm going to try my best to make us all 100% citizens. And I think the Supreme Court is clearly on our side. I'll read one last thing. Thank you again.
He thinks that he's about to take that to a conservative Supreme Court and win. Doubt that's going to happen. Highly doubt that's going to happen. I think the Constitution is completely clear on the stance on that issue. So yeah, it's not happening. This is just honestly, it's more funny than anything else. You know, honestly and truthfully, I think what he said there towards the beginning is actually going to actually come true. He's going to damage Biden even more, and this is going to be an absolute landslide because he's not going to get the support that he needs to actually become, the Democrat nominee. Nor is he going to garner any major support of 20 or 25%. RFK Jr., I think in only one poll broke 20%. So, yeah. And he's got major name recognition. Major name recognition. So, yeah, I don't see him coming anywhere close to 20%. I honestly, yeah, I don't see this going anywhere except for him damaging Biden even further and people either not voting or saying, you know what, actually, I think I'll vote for RFK Jr. or Trump. So, yeah, and even he admitted there, Biden has no shot at winning at this point. No shot. So him going after Biden is only just going to make it worse, which is what I want. I want an absolute landslide. I want a landslide, the likes of which we've never seen before, to make a statement. To make a statement. We are America, and we're getting back on track. The establishment is done. The swamp will be drained, and all of these swamp creatures will be gone, right? No longer can they run our country anymore. So, yeah. How do you guys think, though? What do you guys think? How do you guys think? Oh, goodness gracious, I'm talking like Biden right there. What do you guys think about this entire situation? Do you agree with me? Do you like Cenk, Uygur? Let me know in the comment section below. Peace and love. I'm out.